Hello everyone, this is Preetha from the UMass Amherst student chapter of Informs. Welcome back to our interview series. Today we have with us Dr. Dmytro Matsypura. He is an associate professor in the discipline of business analytics in the University of Sydney Business School. And we are especially happy to have him here today because he's an alum of our very own school. He was a PhD graduate from the management science track at UMass Amherst. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And previous to this, he gave a wonderful and fascinating talk. We are not going to discuss only the research and the talk in this interview, but also other aspects of his career. So you have a very interesting background. You are from Europe. You have done your graduate studies in the US, and now you are teaching in Australia, in Sydney. So how different is academia in Australia and the US? How different are these two?
It's a very interesting question. To some extent, it's very similar, right? Because we're doing similar things, and we have a similar system. But at the same time, there are these subtle differences which don't become apparent from the very sort of beginning, from the first day. You kind of learn about them slightly over the course of time. And one thing that comes first is the fact that it's a little slower paced. So there is less pressure, and there is slightly slower pace. And I think it has a lot to do with the culture, because Australia in general is a very laid back and relaxed culture, and therefore it kind of propagates into the academic life, and things seem to be a little slower. But it's changing, and since I've started in 2007, so over the last 10 years, things have changed quite substantially, and it's kind of coming towards the American model more and more.
I think we all struggle at some point, and since you are publishing in so many international journals and earning teaching awards, so we would really benefit from knowing how you balance both.
Yeah, it's again a very good question, and it's not an obvious thing. It's not an easy thing to do. I agree. It's something that you learn to do with experience. At the beginning, I remember spending quite a lot of time on my teaching preparations because I always wanted to be very good, right? Because teaching is it's a very important part of the job, and one of the reasons I went into academia is because I really enjoy teaching. So I always wanted to spend a sufficient amount of time preparing and making sure it's perfect.
Right.
And with time, you learn to be more efficient with your preparations. You spend less time, hopefully maintaining the quality, and experience helps you with that, right? So you know what to put in, plus you develop your courses and you're using the material, so it becomes a little easier. But at the same time, I suppose that an important strategy is to have certain days or certain parts of the day dedicated to teaching, and then others dedicated to research. I would suggest that if you can, of course it's not always possible, but if you can, find those several days that you do research only. Because another thing that one should keep in mind is that teaching is the kind of responsibility that has deadlines, and it's very, you're always, right? You have to prepare your courses for next week, for next day, or it has these timestamps. And research is not like that. You're much more flexible. So what ends up hurting is the research time. So yeah, just dedicate time, stick with it, and I think you'll do fine.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, when you were a student, you were going into the job market. What do you think was like one thing you wish you knew when you were going into the job market?
That I wish I knew is that how much I could negotiate with different universities, different places that were interested in me, how much I could negotiate my starting offer. And we all know that you can, right? Everybody kind of, and there is an intrinsic understanding that every offer can be negotiated, but then you never know to which extent. And it's only later when you get to the other side of this fence,
you look back and
you realize that you could have negotiated much more. There is much more room for that. This is not to say that one should be very bold about it and go and demand things that are, unreasonable. But at the same time, it's something that you should try, at least, and in a respectful manner, try and probe and negotiate a better deal for yourself.
So now coming to your research, so the talk that you gave today, that was also on this current topic that you're working on, wildfire management. So you're using OR techniques to prescribe burning. That's what it's called, right? Prescribe burning.
Yes.
Burning. So how did you, you mentioned that it's a prevalent problem in Australia. It has been for many years, but how did you get into this application area? Because it's very unique.
Yes, actually it was a pure chance, and I was introduced to this problem by a person who I met at one of the conferences. And this is where I'd like to say that attending conferences is very, very useful thing to do, because you get to meet different people, and during the conversation you can get introduced to various interesting problems. It doesn't happen all the time, but there is a high chance. And in my case, it was the case. That's what happened. And that person described the problem to me in a casual chat. I think it was one of the evening functions or something like that. And we started talking about it, and after every sentence, I realized that this problem looks more and more like something I could apply my current sort of research and current project to that, and I could model it in a particular way. So as we were discussing it, as he was describing it, and I thought, I think I know what I can do.
But thank you so much for introducing us to this topic, to this area, and I'm sure like more and more students and researchers are going to get interested in this. And
thank you. It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you guys and presenting at this school. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.